The Giants are beating the Bucks. Can you believe it? This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to this on Election Day. Good for celebrating an election. If you're listening to this any day after that, good luck in the Civil War. This is episode 343 of the O The Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown what was formerly known as Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way, anchor.fm/O The Anthem, gives you direct links to all the podcatchers and which you listen to us on, and the easiest way to find us.
Absolutely. I am realizing as we sit here, I forgot to load the videos. So Corey, why don't you tell, or the images, why don't you tell everyone about the
election?
No, about the plans for the podcast over the next few weeks. So we're not going to be able to do everything as normal for the next 2 to 3 weeks. There may be some special events. There may be different ways of doing things. Why don't you let them know about all of that stuff? Yeah,
so basically, Rob is going home to prepare for the oncoming Civil War.
Now everybody at work is going to think that's actually what I'm doing.
No, Rob is going home because it is Maxon's birthday coming up and going home to celebrate family things. Probably a good time to do it in between or before Thanksgiving and Christmas and things getting really crazy. But yeah, he's going to be gone. So next week we will do a virtual episode like we have before while he quarantines and gets tested and the whole nine.
Corey, why would I have to quarantine? It's not like I'm...
It's not like we're in the middle of a pandemic of some sort.
Hey, listen, I'm not going out to a bar, all right? I'm taking a plane across the country, that's all.
Hopefully you'll be safe and sound, and when you get back, you'll have a clean test, and we can resume here.
I didn't realize that being on the podcast was going to be so much like doing pornography. As soon as I get that clean test, I can get back into it.
Well, in the meantime, you can do it virtually. So.
It's just like pornography.
But yeah, I we will for sure sort of have a bonus episode whenever the election is officially done. We will have there might be a chance that this thing is called today as you're listening to the podcast. If that is the case, then we'll see if we can get on real quick. But like, basically look for that whenever everything is finalized. And in the meantime, we'll do virtual episodes until testing has resumed.
You know, you're doing everything that CNN keeps telling us not to do, Corey. Like making people think that that they're listening on Facebook. It's getting that echo, and there's two things. No, making people think that that the election might be settled tomorrow. I mean, the honest truth is that the election is not going to be. The likelihood of it being settled tomorrow is slim to none, basically.
Right. I mean, like, I think what we'll know is we'll know what the election day vote looks like. If the election day vote goes overwhelmingly for Biden, I feel like it's more likely that we're looking at like a huge colossal victory in the Electoral College. So it's one of those. There's so much up in the air. We don't know. So we'll know. We'll find out eventually, and then we'll do a live show for that one to talk about all the whatever's going on at that point.
Yeah, and I was gonna say so.
Many moons from now.
Basically, we'll be remote for next episode for sure because I'll be coming back in on Monday afternoon.
Right.
And then for those of you who are running out to get your COVID test today because of those Halloween parties, pointless because you got to wait basically 5 to 7 days. I'm gonna go on Saturday, which will be 5 days from travel, and then I'll probably go again on Monday or Tuesday just to get the final yes. And we've been doing really good on our testing. Like I think we got the last test we got it back 2 days. So yeah. I'm assuming I'm going to a walk-up clinic for the same company that does the Dodger Stadium one. That we'll get it back in about 2 days. I'm also doing one before I go because I'm a responsible adult, and I don't understand why everyone's questioning why are you getting a test before you go?
Yeah.
Because I'm about to go see my family. And if I show up in Maryland on Friday for my overnight flight on Thursday, and on my drive in, the phone goes off and is like, hey, you've tested positive. I'm going to immediately drive and check into a hotel and stay there, one close to the hospital, and stay there and see how things progress over the next day or two. And then for the birthday party that I'm going there for, if I feel all right on Sunday when the party is there, like asymptomatic, I will strap on my
gas mask.
So I also bought a gas mask. I bought a PM100 filtered gas mask, which is good against organics, gases, chemicals, literally everything. So basically, what the guy, one of the guys told, like a comment that he made on the mask itself was just basically like, yeah, so you're not gonna feel, and if like a bomb went off next to you, as long as you didn't die, you're gonna breathe just fine. It's gonna filter particulates and everything out. And like apparently this is like one of the best masks that you can get, and I'm getting it to protect me on an airplane, which I felt really nervous about. And I mean, Corey, we've talked about doing a drive home for Christmas, but like it's a long drive and somebody could come up sick during the drive. What do you do?
Yeah, that was my concern, is that like you're home and then everything feels fine and then you get sick and then you're in Muncie, Indiana. Yeah. And like you feel like you need to go to the hospital. And then,
well, and if it was me, it would be fine because they would just leave me there and go back. But if it was Rachel, Corey wouldn't leave the bedside, and then
I wouldn't leave if you were there.
I wouldn't leave them. Now I would want you to go. Like, I don't want anyone to be trapped in Indiana. I don't even want people who live in Indiana to be trapped in Indiana. But yeah, it's the more I read about airplanes where they're like, hey, yeah, we've been worried about transmitting diseases for a lot longer than coronavirus, and if everyone on the flight wears a mask, it's a negligible impact, meaning like can't say zero, but pretty close to zero.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone's going to wear their mask the entire time. They're going to wait, and when like the stewardess isn't looking, they'll take it off to take some breaths. So even in that situation, they're saying it's like a 1% chance because they have HEPA 4 filters on the plane and the air is forcibly recycled and blah, blah, blah. So I don't feel so bad about that. But mask for the airport, literally like Corey's going to drop me off. Mask is going to go on in the car, and it's going to be as if I'm invading some foreign planet. It's going to stay on the entire time until I get to the rent-a-car counter somewhere and get in the other car, and then after I make a stop at Walmart and grab some antiseptic
provisions.
Well, some like Clorox wipes, really, to wipe down the car, and I'll go ride down the highway with all the windows down, which sounds a lot better in California than it does in Maryland, actually. Yeah. Then I'll finally take the mask off.
All the bleach will melt.
Yeah.
Or all the bleach will freeze, I mean.
But I'll take the mask off just in time for my phone to go off and be like, bad news, you tested positive.
all the precautions I took.
But see, because I am a normal human being, I will feel good that I protected everyone else on the plane from me as well. Because, as a human being, we should feel things for other people and want to protect them. And I don't understand why that is such a hard concept for everyone on my IG who posted stories out at like parties with 300 people and no mask to understand.
Yeah.
Who didn't like to see their families.
We'll get into that more in the coronavirus section.
Yes.
But first, we wanted to, this is obviously going up on Election Day. Like I said, there is a small but not necessarily likely chance that we will have something to report tomorrow. But in we didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about all the political issues like we normally do because it's kind of irrelevant after the election results come in. So
yeah, once the shooting starts, Corey, I mean, really, it's an irrelevant point. So
we figured we'd just run through some of the last minute things here and give some thoughts, and then just move on to more fun and games for the rest of the episode. And by that, I mean the pandemic that we're going through. So yes, we're finally here. Thank God, right? I mean, I for all the people who thought that there was going to be trouble throughout these 4 years, I would say that people have waited very patiently for their chance to vote, and I'm proud of people for that. Like it's been a very contentious almost 4 years at this point. And we're almost at the finish line, hopefully, if everything goes the way it's supposed to go. And
you're so hopeful. It's so great to see people so hopeful.
I'm just trying not to give in to the despair of it all, because I think that's the only there's either a modicum of hope or utter despair.
Yeah,
like I just feel like I don't want to go to the despair point until I know for sure I have to be there, like
it's absolutely necessary. I'm going to avoid the despair.
I mean, to be fair, the despair part will come when Biden becomes president too. Like
Yes.
it'll be like hope and like, thank God, finally we got past this, and then I'll just be like, oh fuck, Joe Biden's president. God damn it. It was all going so well until I realized who I voted for. Well, whatever.
Listen, hold your nose and vote, Corey. That's the way democracy works.
Oh man, I we talked about this on the way here. I just think it's so funny that like, you know, like maybe Joe wins the election, maybe the Democrats get the Senate. I think it's pretty safe that the Democrats will retain the House at this point. If the Democrats don't retain the House on election day,
let me tell you, there are other problems we got to worry about because I think they're up by like 40 seats right now, and then looking to get probably a bigger majority.
Yeah, I mean, like the likelihood, I think 538's projection was that the Democrats will have a 98% chance to win the House again.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty foregone conclusion. Like everything else is a lot more in flux.
Also, I'm not sure that Nate Silver saw the Twitter, so in case he sees this, I want to post. Or I want to say, not post. I want to say, Nate, the best thing you can do tomorrow is to just spend the entire day posting tweets of this variety. Well, didn't expect that to happen. We're recalculating the projections, and we'll put something up shortly, and then never reposting it and being like, LOL, who would have thought, ... Just that all day. Yeah. All day, I want people to be losing their minds. I want people to be storming the doors of California polling places when they're in line at 8 p.m. Like, you are going to let me vote. In a state where it probably is pointless to be a Democrat and actually storm a voting place. But let's say Arizona. In Arizona, I want them to be storming the voting places. But I think that the story of this election is 77%. And that number stands for right now, of the people who have early voted this year, they make up 77% of the total vote from 2016.
Yeah.
There is a likelihood that Donald Trump will in fact save this democracy. And in fact, him being president and then running for re-election may cause the largest turnout in voting history. And that's in real terms because our population grows every year.
Yeah.
But also the largest turnout by population, by like eligible voters in history.
Yeah.
So we're going to withhold judgment. I am not going to say thank you until I know he's going to be the one leaving.
Yeah.
But
I hope that the 77% and all the Trump people who've been secretly hiding out,
the silent majority,
they didn't vote for him the first time, and they can't wait to do it this time.
I mean, honestly, like again, today he mentioned the silent majority, and like offhandedly, his people were like saying, well, you know, the silent majority is. It's not popular to be a Trump supporter right now. So the pollster calls, you say you're going to vote for Biden, but when you go in the poll, you actually vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Or that, you know, you don't put a Trump flag in your car, you don't put a Trump sign in your yard, but you're going to vote for Trump. And then you drive around these places, you see a lot of Biden signs. Well, it's cool to be a Biden voter. It's not cool to be a Trump voter, but we're going to get it back. And then I realized Trump didn't get a majority last time.
Right.
He got a electoral majority, but not a popular majority. So it's not really the silent majority. It's the silent plurality that controls the electoral college. So,
I mean, I think that there's a higher, you know, if we look at total votes for Trump 2016 to 2020, it will grow. I don't know why, because nothing in the last 4 years makes me feel like he deserves it more. But like,
what is the perennial question you're supposed to ask yourself at every election, Corey?
Why did I do this to myself again?
Well, no. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And like I think it was Reagan who first said that.
Right.
Like about Jimmy Carter, which I mean it was true. People weren't. Stagflation and everything was terrible.
Gas lines, the whole.
Oh yeah. Iran had taken over the embassy. But that became the perennial call. Like again in 88 or 84, Reagan was like, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And people said, yeah, I am. All right, I'll keep this guy in office. And he won like 49 of the states, I think.
Yeah.
Everything but the home state of the other guy.
Yeah, Mondale.
Mondale? Right, yeah.
Took Minnesota, and that's it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's harder to do that now. But going into the Obama years.
It's impossible to do. I can't. I couldn't imagine. If we couldn't get 50 states against Trump, like, And that's, like for people who are like ardent Trump supporters, like, like I'm not saying this to constantly belittle the man. I'm saying that he is not an ideal candidate. Like if there was somebody who was going to get a 50 state, like it's not going to be Marco Rubio. Like he's going to win some state, like somewhere along the way. Trump is the same way. He's going to win some states along the way just because that's how the demographics of the state work out. But like this would be the, somebody who isn't a politician would be the easiest layup for a 50 state slamming.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. I think Biden, any other year, any other decade previous to this one, might have been the guy.
I mean, it would
centrist Democrat who's like, basically
it would be easier for a Republican to do it on a Democrat.
Wayne Gilchrist runs for president.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, yeah, I like this guy. He's down to earth. I could have a beer with him. And the Democrats are like, what about? And he's like, yeah, abortion. I don't really care. I don't really care about that. It's like, I'm going to keep the economy strong, and you do what you want to do. Yeah. And
Wayne was a Republican, though. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah. You're probably right that Republicans would never vote for a Democrat, but Democrats would be like, well, like there's nothing I disagree about with this guy, and then Bernie's running against him, and I definitely don't side with Bernie. So, all right.
I mean, it would take like the thing is that it takes such a outsider type of candidate. Like you have to think, even though the Republican Party has totally wrapped their arms around Trump and they're the Trump party for better or for worse.
He's an outsider now.
It's not like he is an AOC to the rest of the Democratic Party. She's a little bit on the fringe as opposed to everyone else. The Bernie on the party is a little bit more fringe. So if you're somewhere in the middle, then you think like, oh well, maybe it's better to vote for Trump than it is to vote for Bernie, like because he's so far out there, or AOC because she's so far out there. But if
anybody's wondering why everybody lined up behind Biden, it's because everyone on the left is intelligent, and they're like, Bernie, buddy, we love you. This is not the year. We need to go as far right as possible to just make sure. Because by the way, Bernie would probably be losing in a lot of places right now. Biden is making Texas. Texas is competitive. Georgia is competitive. North Carolina, Florida.
But there's also a part of Bernie, which I feel like is a little fire versus fire, because you get that like New York, like don't take shit kind of attitude with Bernie.
Okay, yeah.
So like I feel like because I really feel like there's a lot of people who vote for Trump because he makes fun of Democrats and they don't like make fun of him back in the same way.
Yeah.
So like there's like a strength in that. So he's the strong one who's always putting down the people who are wrong, and they don't have anything to say back to him other than the usual racism, rape, whatever they're going to throw at him, which his supporters are just totally about, like, oh, that's not happening. It's all lies. It's all fake.
But I think the thing that Trump would have wanted is Bernie, because Bernie fires up your base too.
Oh yeah, I mean, like being able to make the Antifa super soldier argument would be a lot easier with Bernie than it would be with Biden, because clearly Biden is not on the left side of the Democratic Party. So.
No. And just so it's clear, because Corey made sure to say he wasn't degrading the candidate, I am absolutely degrading Trump, and I don't think he's worthy of the office.
I don't think he's worthy either. I was saying, like, I'm not trying to degrade him as like. I wasn't trying to say that this is going to be an easy 50 state slam that Biden is about to, go on. I didn't want people to think that I'm like way ahead of what's happening here. I was just saying like.
Well, although I mean,
much like if the Orioles were playing the Dodgers in the World Series, I would be like, well, if ever there was a time, like I'd be making all the excuses I could, and I'd be talking about how the Orioles would win this thing, even though they clearly will not.
Yeah,
like. It's not me, I'm not disrespecting the opponent by talking about how the Orioles are clearly going to win, because I'm just talking about this from a perspective issue as opposed to a X's and O. If I'm breaking it down the game film, I'm like, clearly these teams are not on the same level. Like,
and I mean, you can kind of see that hedging bets that Corey is doing as well on the news. CNN, 2 different desk people today. One of them said, this is a virtual dead heat. Trump is edging it out. And the other one opened with like, Will Joe Biden hit 400 electoral votes? And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What now? And then they went to the board. And then I told you they did the let's show you how many ways this could end up. 269. Yeah. And I was just like, why would you even put that in my head? Because, by the way, there's 9. There are 9 ways that, based on the 2016 map, we can still get a 269 tie.
Well, I mean, so let's look at this realistically. And I mean, like, the problem is that nobody expected Trump to win. And now, because he had won, people are like, it's going to happen again. Somehow it's going, everything's going to align in such a way that this happens again. In all the swing state polls, as of right now, Biden is ahead. In some of these polls, he's ahead by basically the margin of error. So,
yeah, some of them.
Right. So, I mean, like, if you're talking about, like, he has, like, a 1-point lead in Texas in, like, one of the polls that I saw, like, which is well within the 3.5-point margin of error. Yeah. So, if Trump were to win by 2 in Texas, then it's not like the poll was wrong. It's just like they told you in the range it was going to be.
Yeah, he's up by 10 in North Carolina, I think.
Yeah.
But the margin of error on the poll is like 6%. So
right.
It's greater than the margin of error. If Trump wins by 5%, I'm going to have some questions for North Carolina pollers and be like, how did you miss that much of a swing?
Right.
If Trump wins by 5,000 votes in one county and that swings the state, you're like, okay, so it was outside the margin of error. You missed it, but you didn't miss it by that much.
And I'll tell you, the pollsters in 2016 weren't that far off.
No.
Like, people want to give, like, pollsters across the board a lot of shit. They want to give 538 a lot of shit. Like, I understand why they said there was a 90% chance that Hillary would win, much like they say there's a 90% chance that Biden would win. I think the one noticeable difference between this election and that election, though, is that people are really serious about state polls now, way more than they were before.
Yeah.
So people, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, like, oh, Biden's up by 10 nationally a lot. I hear a lot more people saying, like, we've been doing polling in Michigan.
Yeah.
We're good in Michigan. We're good in Wisconsin. We're good in Minnesota. We're good in these states.
You are not going to be happy about what just happened.
Did Gronk score 3 touchdowns?
He just scored 1.
Oh, well, shit. Are the Bucks back in this game?
I think they just scored 2. They've scored twice in this quarter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hope they both weren't Gronk.
Let's hope not. I just saw him dancing, and I'm like, oh, I recognize that.
No, but I mean, like, I think that there was a chance of being caught by surprise in the last poll because people in Michigan didn't necessarily think that Hillary was going to lose, because that was a not reliable Democratic vote, but a semi-reliable Democratic
vote. It's a blue
vote.
wall, Corey. You broke through the blue wall.
So I just imagine that. I imagine that with all the effort that they've put in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, in Pennsylvania, and Ohio since the election has started. I mean, like, if you look at Joe Biden this past week, it's just been going back and forth between the Great Lakes states, essentially.
And Kamala has been in Arizona and Texas and North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Obama has basically lived in Florida last week. So.
I mean, he was in Georgia earlier this morning, and he was in Florida tonight. There's a lot of and Trump's everywhere, literally going to all the same swing states that Biden and Kamala are.
Funny when you don't have to pay for the gas for the jet.
It's amazing.
Make it all over the place. So.
Well, there's also a lot. I bet these campaigns have a lot more money than they anticipated just because of the way the coronavirus is going these days,
Well, I think you'd be right about the Democrats. I'm not sure you're right about the Republicans, because apparently Trump or Biden had outraised 2-1 going in. So, I mean, everything's leaning the right way. I don't think that Biden's going to hit 400 electoral votes. I also am hoping that it's not going to end up in a 269-269 tie.
Yeah, that would be bad.
But not really, because here's what happens. If it ends up in a 269-269 tie, it goes to the House. Not this House, although that would be fine.
Yeah.
It goes to the next House, where there will be an even greater majority of Democrats likely, and the House chooses the president.
Yeah.
Then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate chooses a vice president, which is how... It makes sense when it used to be that you voted for one or the other, not for a ticket. But it's also likely that the Democrats are going to take the Senate. They need to flip 3 seats to get into the majority. And Jamie Harrison is actually winning in South Carolina right now.
Margin of error, but yes.
Yes, within the margin of error, but leading. And Mark Kelly, what Trump has done to Martha
McSally.
A shame. I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the Republicans.
Well, I mean, like, I think Lindsey Graham is going to have one of those, like, cold water on his face days here sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Where he's just like, what did I do? Like, I had it all in the bag and I just gave it away. Like,
See, I don't know if that's going to be true, though. I think that there is a chance he's like, well, finally I get to live my life how I want. And he's going to move to the village and get a nice studio apartment, and he'll be living his life. But so they need one more.
Fun themed costumes for Halloween.
They need one more seat. There are 6 more that are up that are not, that are leaning rather than solid.
Yeah.
And so they have to pick up one more after that. And there's a chance that it'll be a 53-47 split with a vice president who's going to be obviously not even breaking a tie, but will be a Democrat theoretically. So, oh yeah, no, because the vice president can't. Oh, that's right. Okay, so it's not Senate vote by individual. It's vote by state.
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah.
That is why the new Congress would be important, because that would give the Democrats enough state parties to elect the president.
Yeah.
The problem is they still wouldn't have the votes in the Senate, I don't think.
I don't like that we're talking about elections like we're talking about what's going to happen on the season finale of The Walking Dead. Like,
yeah.
It's very unnerving to me.
Well, and
like,
this
we
is
talk
all,
about
of course, I don't know if you've seen, speaking of The Walking Dead, the fence that was built around the White House today, as if maybe zombies were going to be attacking later on this afternoon.
Yeah.
Because all jokes aside, like, there is a chance. Like, let's just go ahead and move, I guess, down to that point. Trump supporters ran Biden-Harris bus off the road in Texas. There are multiple reports that people with BLM stickers and Biden stickers, I watched a full-length 40-minute-long video of a woman who is by herself being driven off the road into a parking lot and then surrounded by cars with people, grown men with guns strapped to their chest, being like, get out of the car. We ain't going to hurt you. Get out of the car. Like, she got out of the car, and I was just, like, looking at my phone screaming, like, don't get out of the car. What are you thinking about? Like, I don't want to watch. It's not live leak. I don't want to watch a murder take place right here. But there are crazy people with guns.
Yeah.
And yeah, I said when we were doing our pre-show, it's like, it's weird because the far right is very much like, the president is going to win this, and if he doesn't win it, then somebody cheated, and we're going to make sure he does win. And then you have the moderate Republicans who are like, we're not invested in this whatsoever. And then you got the moderate left that is just like, listen, violence is never the answer. And then you have the far left, people like the John Brown Gun Club, who are posting videos of like, our enrollment is higher than ever. Yeah. And there's an artist named Bamboo, who is a far left communist rapper, who decided Saturday was the perfect time to drop his new album. The leading track number 1, is We Got Guns Too. So, I mean, it's like the right and left are both basically looking at this as an opportunity. It's Germany in 1933. It's like, hey, fascists want to kill communists. Communists want to kill fascists. They're looking for an excuse to do that on the street. And everyone might be stuck in the middle. And the president is barricaded in the house. And obviously that's not ideal. I mean,
yeah.
Hey, it's not ideal. It would probably be fine if it happened, but it's not.
I mean, this whole thing is making me. This is the part that's making me nervous, because Trump obviously at the first debate, was talking about how there was going to have to be poll watchers and all that sort of stuff. I've never been nervous about going to vote before.
But if you just stop saying poll, they're election observers. Stop saying poll watchers. Yeah. Just that gets me nervous by itself.
Well, not only that, because I just imagine a lot of people with like fucking like, overalls showing up at like, I want to be a poll watcher. And so it's like, you needed to sign up for this a long time before now. Like, this is not, it's not how, you don't show up on election day saying you want to watch people vote. Like,
listen, guy shows up with a Trump shirt. They're like, you got to be more than 60 feet from the opening of the door. And he's like, all right. And he pulls up, parks his truck, and sits his MG-42 machine gun right outside. But I think you made an interesting point, though, that like those far right Republicans think like, well, we're going to scare the Democrats, but they're also going to scare moderate Republicans from coming to polls.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I was going to vote for Trump and I showed up and I saw a bunch of people with guns outside, I wouldn't vote for him. I wouldn't go in. I wouldn't vote.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I think Democrats are far more fired up about like, we're not fired up about Biden. But we got to get somebody else in there. So we're going to go. We'll wait in a 4-hour line. We're going to do it. But if you're a moderate Republican who's just like, oh, all right,
Like, I don't really love Trump, but I'm a Republican, so I feel like I have to.
I'll go vote for Trump. But then you see a dude with a AK-47 outside the polling place, I think you're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, if you are a 80-year-old black woman in Atlanta, maybe you're just like, they're not going to scare me off. I'm going to go vote. You being here makes me want to vote more.
Right.
But if you're a upper middle class white guy in Atlanta, you're just like, I look like them, but I don't know that they're going to care. I also have a Mercedes. And
how do I explain myself? That's the worst part. Like, you know, like,
what am I going to say to these guys to get them to not shoot me? You used to be, I could just be white, but I got that car.
I mean, maybe I have to like Zig Heil them on the way in or something like that. Is that how you? Is that the secret handshake that gets you through? Like,
I mean, that is the thing. If you're a moderate Republican and you're thinking like, am I gonna have to like these guys on the way in to get through safely? I'm just not gonna fucking go in. I'm gonna get back in my car. I'm gonna go home. Because it doesn't mean that much to me.
Walking through the guns is going like, keep up the good work, boys, and then go in and just vote for Biden.
And honestly, if you are a moderate and you're like, yeah, listen, the CNN's blowing it out of proportion.
Go in there with your overalls and just get to the thing. And it's just like, you know, a lot of people have fucking died this year.
But I mean, if you're a moderate and you're like, all right, this is weird and disconcerting, and I thought CNN was blowing it out of proportion, but guy with a gun outside of my polling place, like, keep up the good work, boys, and go inside and be like, we got to put an end to this shit. Like, maybe it blows back in your face. I don't know.
I'm very nervous about everything, but also hopeful that things will be okay. And it, honest to God, like we're just in this horrible place because the Democrats, it's in their best interest to make it seem like this is not in the bag.
Yeah.
Because who knows what happens, and you don't want to depress the vote. And if you say
last time.
Yeah, remember last time, A, and B, if you said something like, well, Biden's got this in the bag, thank you everybody, no need to show up on Tuesday, then there's a chance you lose.
Yeah.
So it's in their best interest to say, and you know, they do this with like polls when people are just like, oh, we have Biden up by 10 in this state, and it's just like, well, that's not what our polls are saying. It's much closer in our polls. So
what's your poll say? Oh, I mean, I don't have the numbers right in front of me.
We'd rather not get into it right now, but what we need is everyone in Alaska to vote. That's basically what this says. It's way too close to call.
Yeah.
But like,
I need everybody in Maryland to go out and vote. By the way, if
everybody in California, put the chains on your tires and get out there and vote.
If Maryland or California is leaning red at the end of November 3rd.
If you hear Joe Biden on drive time in LA trying to get people out to vote, you know you got
things
yourself
are going
a problem.
Things are going very poorly. Although to be fair, Hillary did do that.
Yeah, I know.
But she lost, so I mean maybe it was the right thing to do.
That was.
It really shouldn't be there.
That's why it happened.
Although she won California, and that was part of the reason she won the popular vote. So.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, if your vote, this is true. If your vote wasn't important, then people wouldn't try and take it away from you. That's and what Trump is trying to do between the calls for invalidating votes or lawsuits from the GOP in various states. You know, the GOP just lost a suit to throw out 150,000 votes in Harris County in Texas, which is where Houston is.
P.S. By the way, the next county over, very hardcore Republican, also has drive-by balloting.
No problem.
Didn't challenge it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the argument they were trying to make in Harris County was, like, we have to be delicate because we don't want someone to use this against us in the counties around here that also offer this. So It's like, well, in Harris County, being an urban area,
it's more rife for abuse or
yeah. They have to deal with higher traffic, and because of that, and I'm like, all right, okay, all right. I
mean, I effectively believe that everyone who votes should have their vote counted.
Yes.
If it's clearly, if there's some sort of problem, like, if the signature is nowhere close to the same, then put it aside.
Sure.
Like, alert the person that their ballot is incorrect and see what they want to do about it. I feel like everything should be in by election day, not necessarily like to the board of election, but like postmarked by election day. The Pennsylvania one, the Supreme Court case, like I'm kind of on two sides of that issue because I think that all the votes should count as long as they're postmarked by election day. The ones that have no postmark at all, I'm a little bit like, I could see why you could throw those, but at the same time, like, how many votes is that really going to be?
Yes.
And like, like you could reasonably be a person who dropped it in the mail on, the 14th or something like that, and it just never it got lost in the post office somewhere and didn't get sent until way later. So,
and my problem with that is that they use the very small number of votes that might be impacted by no postmark. Because by the way, do you know how much work it has to do to get to somebody without a postmark?
Yeah.
But then they use that as and if you're going to say that, then also this and also this and also this and also this. And now we're going from a very small number to a meaningful number of votes, which is that's the troublesome part of it.
Yeah.
And again, should we really be talking about our election as if it was a post-zombie apocalypse movie? I will retort you by saying, though, that Emma Goldman once said that if voting changed anything, they would make it illegal. So, actually, maybe that's not a retort now that I think about it, because they're trying to make voting illegal.
Yeah.
So, therefore, maybe it is making a difference now. And maybe the Republicans are just realizing that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, you know how you're the way you're dealing with a corrupt industry is if your name was in Georgia and it was taken off a voter roll before Kemp became governor.
Yeah.
Like in the lead up to the election, and all of a sudden your name comes off a voter roll. I would be more of the mind to say that anyone who comes off a voter roll should be in suspension for a long period of time, at least an election's worth of time in between. So if you were taken off the voter roll in 2016 before the election, even if you didn't vote in 2016, you shouldn't be completely out of the books until 2020.
Yeah.
And then if you show up and say, hey, I'm here, I was in a coma for the last 6 years, then they could just be like, oh, cool, flip the switch and you're good to vote again.
Yeah.
Like, like that would be a way that you would make it seem like, oh, they really care about me being involved in this democratic process. But if it involves, oh, well, you went off the roll, so you got to reapply and it's going to take 6 months and, them's the rules. And like, then it makes it seem like, oh, they don't want me to do this. So
I did some episodes about this for Rob Explains. I encourage everybody to check them out. But all of this, by the way, means absolutely nothing because your vote doesn't really count for the presidency. Mm-hmm. You are electing electors,
right,
who will then vote for the president. And still, in 12 of the 50 states, 13 if you count the District of Columbia, they have no laws against faithless electors. So. Right. Now, all the ones that are going to matter actually do have laws. Like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Florida, Pennsylvania, all have like faithless elector laws. You have to vote the way that the person was elected. But popular vote really means nothing. Hillary won the popular vote.
National popular vote, no.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
And statewide, though, doesn't necessarily mean anything either because you're elected by district. So my vote went into District 1 in Maryland, which technically means it's probably worthless because although Maryland is going to go for Biden, District 1 electors are most certainly going to be Republican.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. Now, they're going to probably not even show up to the Electoral College meeting for Maryland because what's the point? You're going to be outvoted by a lot. But, it's still District 1. But that is... Anyway, watch or listen to the things on the Electoral College because people have this misunderstanding of like, oh, well, I'm voting for the president. Like, no, you're not. You're voting for somebody who's going to vote for the president. And why is that important? And
we're just so everyone knows we're not a democracy per se.
We are a federal republic
Yeah.
with democratic election processes.
Yeah. So you vote for somebody who votes on your behalf, basically.
Yeah.
Is the easier way of saying it.
Well, we elect presidents the same way that we make laws. You vote for someone who then votes for the law.
Yeah.
You vote for someone who votes for the president.
Right.
That's how it works. But we are going to be remote next week, no matter what. Being that I will be on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, there is a chance that if I can't get a flight out, if somebody from, Dundalk shoots down a plane in a BWI and they shut down the whole airport, or Philadelphia, because apparently Philadelphia is a third world country, according to the President of the United States, that I might be stuck. And if I'm stuck, then rest assured, we'll still have the episode. It'll just be like that guy from Baghdad in the 91 war.
You'll be doing it from your phone.
I just hide under a
Just
table with my phone.
Can we get like effects on OBS to make it seem like it's the feed's cutting out?
100%. Yeah, it'll just be like staticky, and actually we can turn it down too, so it won't be 720p. It'll be 360p.
Here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to go to a pet store of some kind and get a hamster and a wheel, and then put it in the background of the shot. And just like anytime the hamster slows down, we'll just like cut down the resolution. like, oh, I'm sorry, Sparky's getting a little tired. Internet might go down.
Well, I mean, I could just use the actual hamster that they use at their house to power the internet.
I mean, like,
it's
I guess
not going to be in the background of the shop, but you know.
I guess you could move to where that part of the house.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, absolutely. I guess if we get the cow that's like circling to power the house.
Yeah.
That might be part of an interesting shot too. So, yeah, I live in the country, guys. Who would have thought that? But so don't stress tomorrow, or don't stress today as you're listening to this, unless again you see that like Maryland has gone for Trump.
Yeah,
Maryland, New York, California, all calling in the Trump column.
We got
might
problems.
Be time to worry.
Yeah, we got problems.
Time to worry. Otherwise, it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Well,
I'm hopeful.
I was going to say. The election's going to be fine because we're also possibly all going to die from coronavirus, unfortunately.
Terrified about the day of TV ahead of me, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
the eventual
reaction. Just like it doesn't get like they're going to be distracted by the election for a couple of days, and then right back to 100,000 cases a day of coronavirus. So that's super awesome.
One of them, including by the way, is Marlon Humphreys of the Ravens, who announced today on Twitter, "I got the Rona." Which is how he told everyone.
Oh, I'm looking for the tweet. Yeah. I don't think it's saved. Oh
well.
Bollocks. Oh well. Okay. Well, we don't have it.
But yeah.
Yeah. By the way, best announcement ever of how you got corona.
Yeah,
I got the Rona. I'm waiting to get healthy in a couple of days. Thanks, buddy.
Really makes me feel better after the loss. We don't have Marlon Humphreys now too, so hopefully he can recover quickly and the effects are not long term or
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers. That's how it works, right? Is that how you make things better?
But yes, 100,000 cases over the weekend. 99,371 on Saturday, I think it was.
Yep.
Which, by the way, just in case you were trying to keep track at home, is more than the entire country of Japan has had during the entirety of the pandemic.
And just so that people aren't confused.
Total cases. They've had 99,000 cases.
That was
throughout
a single day in
entirety
America.
of the thing.
Single day in America equal to all of Japan for the entire time.
Yeah. And, yes, Japan is a smaller country than America, and it's a little bit different, blah, 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 blah. But still, that's a pretty big discrepancy.
A lot of cases.
Just as a thing. And a constant reminder, it doesn't have to be this bad. We could certainly do better about this whole thing. Like, it doesn't... We could have done more to keep people from dying, and we can still do more, including wear your mask, stay away from people,
Corey,
limit your exposure inside to people who are not within your household. Like,
it's spooky season, and I will be damned if I don't go out to a bar or a party. I did not order this outfit on Amazon 3 days ago, then complain that it was 1 day late from the 1 day shipping to not wear it out somewhere.
Yeah. It makes me... Sometimes I wonder when people make decisions like that, if they think about, like, where this could eventually lead. Like, I'm in California, right? My family's in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
If I get sick and I go to the ICU, because I had to go to Tequila for their Halloween party, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because Hollywood Boulevard at a bar seems like the greatest place to go on Halloween night.
Yeah,
in a
Halloween
in a Rona season.
Hollywood there is no coronavirus. It's people walking around with no mask. The bars are fully open. It's like, hey, we have a sunroof and we just took this glass out, so we're technically an outside bar now. Come on in.
I think sometimes about like how worth it is it to do something potentially dangerous if like I would end up in an ICU and maybe die alone without anyone near me. Mm-hmm. Like that upsets me. Or getting somebody sick, that really upsets me too. Like,
I'm more worried about that than the dying alone part would be like somebody coming over and whispering and being like, "Good news. It looks like little Timmy, who got sick because you went to the post office that day.
Yeah.
Looks like he might pull through."
Good. Tell my family to stay. No, I mean, like, there are people who are literally dying alone, and like, I just don't get what is worth it about, like going out for Halloween. Like, I get it. I like Halloween. I like going out and doing things under normal circumstances.
I mean, I don't. I like Halloween. I like dressing up. I like parties. A couple years ago, we had a party here. And there was like 10 people over, and it's great. But those 10 people, if we think back, were from 8 different circles, other than the 4 people who lived here. So, yeah.
So, I don't know.
What is worth it? And what is worth your life? And the thing that I am continually trying to get through to even just the people who we hang out with, it's like the college football player who contracted it, was asymptomatic, and then went in for testing afterward. And they're like, you have the lungs of a 55-year-old smoker, and your heart has had incredible amounts of damage. But I didn't even get sick. Apparently, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Your just body, as it's fighting it off, will damage your own cells in order to fight off the virus, and those cells just don't recover. So, sorry.
Yeah.
I know you thought you were going to play professional football, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore. Okay, I'm a 40-year-old former-ish smoker.
Yeah.
That's ICU time for me. Like, even asymptomatic, just like all of a sudden I'm in the ICU. Like, I don't know. What is it worth it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, I'm wearing a $170 gas mask on an airplane to go home, just because I'm literally at the point where I need to get a break. I know myself, and I can't. I've been working from home a little bit. I can't be at home because I will work even if I'm on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I can do it is to go somewhere and be distracted and just go do it.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to Vegas. Not in the cards right now. And I know we're probably going to miss the family for Thanksgiving. And if things keep going this way, honestly, I probably won't go home for Christmas because it's just not worth it to me.
I mean, I can't see a safe way of doing it. That's the worst part. Like, if there was a safe way to do it, then I would do almost anything to sort of have like some family time and stuff like that. But it just doesn't make sense. And furthermore, like, for me and Rachel, it's a little bit different because it's like whenever the Pope comes to visit your town. Yeah. Like, there's a procession of people who come whenever we go home. And, like, it would suck to, like, say, like, oh, I can't see anybody because I'm only going to be home. I'm going to be home for the first time all year, but I'm not going to be able to see anybody because I can't really go and hang out with you guys. And
I mean, that's the thing is that, like,
we could all go to a park and be separate, but then, like, how much fun is that really going to be?
In
like,
December.
Yeah.
In Maryland. I remember 2 years ago, we went to that bar on, in
O'Donnell. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like -5 out in front of the bar. And it's like, that would be what it was. We would just be outside freezing. And that's, I would want to go home and see my family, but then at the same time, it's like you really cannot do anything else with anyone else. But we're going to a state where people aren't really thinking that, and that's the other problem. Like, my parents, for as conservative as they are, literally have shut themselves in. Yeah. And my sister goes to the house; she goes grocery shopping for them apparently, and like that's the only contact they have. Which my dad has spent the last 60 years of his life basically like being a preacher and a pastor. I can't imagine what he is going through. Yeah. But like, then for me to introduce myself into that, and I'm going to be hearing from people like, oh no, man, we're like, oh, well, Doc's is outside. They have the whole outside bar area and like the tables are 10 feet apart. So it's totally fine. It's like, yeah, you and I, not in the same circle, bro. Yeah. I don't know where you've been. Like, I can't go out and see, but I also know I'm dumb. And at some point, my mom will guilt trip me and say, you should go out with your friends. And then I'm flying back 6 weeks from now for a couple of funerals for my wanting to go out for one night. And that's worst case, but it's possible.
The part that really upsets me about this whole thing is that we could have definitely done more to not be in this situation now. Like, hopefully, like, if you're living in South Korea, again, not the same thing as the United States, but still a shockingly low amount of cases that have been reported and closer to the epicenter of where this whole thing started.
Maybe.
Well, yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see what Trump has to say about all that.
Well, no. Apparently, there. All right, so I'm writing a QAnon parody. So look for that in a while. But
parody or a manifesto on 8chan?
No, it's a parody. It's to the tune of "Truth Hurts" by Lizzo. Anyway, so I went in to look for some lingo that they're using on QAnon or conspiracy forums. And one of the things that I saw on there is that, not QAnon because it's not in their ballpark, but that there was actually possibly someone sick in the U.S. with coronavirus in November who then traveled to China and may have actually caused an outbreak in rural China, which then spread further.
Yeah.
So it may be like the Spanish flu, which, by the way, we call it the Spanish flu. It actually started in Kansas in the United States, traveled to Spain where it spread among soldiers, and then went back across all the world. And we called it Spanish flu because that's where it started, but it wasn't really from Spain. It was from the U.S. So it may be that the United States is actually the source of the coronavirus. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
To do some epidemiology in a few years.
Hopefully not. Let's hope not. Because then the whole China's going to pay thing is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
When it turns out it was us the whole time.
Yeah, another reason to hope that Joe Biden gets elected, because I imagine there's going to be a lot of listen, I'm not saying I'm sorry. I'm not saying we're sorry, but we're sorry. That guy does not speak for the rest of us. So about that whole trade war, can we just call that whole thing off? Or Deng Xiaoping seems like or nah, what's his name? Deng Xiaoping was definitely early 90s. I don't know who I'm thinking of. The current premier of China.
Oh, Xi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Seems like a reasonable guy.
Xi Jinping?
Xi Jinping, that's right. And I feel like if Joe Biden gets in, he can get him to listen, that guy doesn't speak for us. Can we just back away from this whole trade war thing and just settle it all out? Yeah, I feel like he would come to the table on that.
Yeah.
Listen, let's go back to most favored nation status for 3 years, and we'll reinstitute the tariffs pre-Trump. Deal. All right, sure. Let's do that for a while. I talked about it on Rob Explains about Halloween being the celebrated worldwide as kind of the darkest days. It's the new year for a lot of ancient cultures.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are really getting that now. The spookier time wasn't Halloween. It's the Sunday and Monday before Election Day.
Yeah.
So when COVID numbers hit 1,000, essentially, just lower testing, and people are dying, and hospitals are going to fill up in a week, and there's an election, and we are all... Oh, hey, by the way, it got dark at 4:45 today.
Yeah.
Can we just put an end to this whole daylight savings thing? It's killing me. The extra sleep was nice, though. But we are... I know we're already looking at running long, but there was a couple of other stories from the week that I want to make sure we get to.
Should we just lightning round through the rest of the stuff here?
Yeah, let's do that. So... I'll call him friend of the show, DeRay McKesson, who we did an interview of.
2016.
4 years ago now.
Yeah, because it was during the election.
Oh,
when
by
he
the
was
way,
running for mayor.
Shout out to everyone. 7 years ago today, Corey and I sat down for the episode 0 of the podcast.
Yeah, the practice podcast.
Wow, 7 years.
That's one piece of advice I give a lot of podcasters. So anyone who's listening and thinking about doing podcasting themselves, do one practice episode that's for nobody, or just selected people. Make one and then send it out to people and say what do you think? Now, and then apply it to what you will eventually do.
Now you don't have to do it in November and then wait until April to do episode 1.
You can go a little quicker, but
we fixed a lot of stuff, and also I think in that time is when we were talking about we should do YouTube. We should also do YouTube. That's going to be a thing. We should get the video started, and we were doing it on 2 video cameras.
Yeah,
at the time.
Yeah, and then editing it the 2 video.
Yeah. Oh my. Anyway, so 7 years from that, 4 years ago, we interviewed DeRay. Probably it was in the springtime, I guess. Anyway, nonetheless, so a unnamed officer in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, sued him because he was injured during a riot,
right,
or during a protest, and he
during
said,
the Alton Sterling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he'd said that that for some reason DeRay was directly responsible for causing his injury, and everyone at every level basically denied him relief, except for the trial judge.
It's kind of a trial of the Chicago 7 thing, where was the protest that started because DeRay was there. Like his influence started the protest, and therefore this officer wouldn't have been injured if it wasn't for. No, I like
Also, by the way,
I feel like doesn't the officer get covered by the police department for that? Like,
yeah, he does.
So he's just suing to sue, like for punitive damages kind of thing, or
because emotional damage is not covered by their current union contract.
Gotcha.
So, yes. So he was suing for punitive and emotional damages. That was, in fact, by the way, the protest where DeRay was pushed off the sidewalk, took one step in the street, and then was tackled by an officer like a few steps down the street, and then arrested and spent the night in jail.
Talk about emotional damages.
Yeah, you'd think, but didn't sue. Weird how that works. But so the case went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled against them, sent it back down to the lower court with instructions to send it down to the trial court to non-inconsistent with this opinion, which just means like no relief granted. With one dissenting justice, Clarence Thomas, who I think we can start. You said this in the pre-show. I think we can start saying Clarence Thomas has reached OJ and MJ levels where he's not black. He's Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
Somebody on Twitter compared him to Clayton Bigsby. Now, most of you who are listening have no idea who that is, but that's a character from the Dave Chappelle show where he was a blind.
Yeah. Blind Klansman. Yeah.
Yes, he was a blind black guy who thought he was white and joined the Klan, and because it was such a coup, the Klan accepted him and allowed him to go speak places.
Well, because he was always in the whites.
Hood. Yeah. And he was such a passionate speaker and writer that they kept him in.
Let us see your face.
You want to see my face? No, Clayton, don't show him your face. So Clarence Thomas has essentially reached that level where it's just like Alito and Roberts.
Always reminds me of like I recently talked to him and he left his wife of 40 years. When I asked why, he said, "Could never be with a woman who was with a black guy." To put it into acceptable podcast
friendly
terms.
for podcast. Also because we're not black. Yes. But no, it's
to be fair, the actor who said it wasn't black either, but I don't play those games.
Oh, no, but that's right, because he was doing the guy who used to be on
like
PBS.
the front line, yeah.
Yeah, the front line guy, no fear. Listen, he said it. I'm quoting him. I'm going to say it. Like, all right, bro.
Well, it seemed, I seem to remember, like, there was, maybe it was somewhere around, the one out here in L.A. Rodney King.
Yes, yeah.
It was somewhere around Rodney King where, like, news reporters felt like they had to say the whole quote like on the news to like, and they'd be like, like strong language ahead, but then the cop apparently said get down, and then would say the word. He'd just be like Cronkite. Wow.
Well, but I think there was some. And again, way too old for most of people who are listening. But I think that the point was that someone had called out the news because they said like when you don't use the language, people don't understand.
Don't know what you're saying. Yeah.
They don't understand how harsh it is for a guy in 4 sentences to say the N-word 19 times.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to quote him, say it so that people hear it. Because honestly, it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think even racist people would be like, that's a little overkill, man. You use it too much. It doesn't have a meaning anymore. You got to stop. Like, but that's how it is. But yeah, so Clarence Thomas.
Well, it's funny. I was listening to just on that topic. I was listening to an interview with Ava DuVernay, and she was talking about like talking to extras for like Selma and stuff like that. And it's just like y'all have to, y'all have to yell the same things at the same time, so you can't pay every single person. If you have an individual line, you have to pay them separately.
Yeah.
If they're all chanting at the same time, then it's just extras.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to get them to all say the same thing, and it's just like, like, all right, and when they come out, make sure you scream like, like go home, N-word.
Yeah.
And then like the audience or like the extras were just like, now, do you really want me to say that? Or, like,
let's be very clear.
I've never said that word before in my life. It's just like, yeah, we're cool here. We're doing art. Like, this is fine. I'm not, no one here will be offended. Everyone understands what you're doing. And it's just like, like extras are like, am I saying N-word or am I saying the N-word?
First take. It's like, go home. Nobody says it. She's like, are y'all waiting to see if everybody else said it? Okay, listen, we got to say it. It's 1960. You really hate these people. Like, ma'am, you're black and you're sitting right there, and I don't know if I can actually say it. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But Clarence Thomas, Brittany Pagetti.
That's where we started.
Yeah,
That's right.
Brittany Pagetti just said on Twitter, just like, when are y'all going to realize he doesn't think he's one of us? And you brought up the MJOJ example. It's just like he thinks that he's risen above everyone else, and that's not. He's not like anyone else.
And that's not like my opinion or anything like that. That's based off of. I think Lil Wayne specifically had something about this, where somebody was like, well, don't you realize how tough it is for African Americans in this world and how people look up for you? And he's just like, I'm not black.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm black, but I'm not like,
I'm not black.
This has never affected me. Like, like I'm just a normal person who lives my normal everyday life, and race has never played an issue. And it's just like, okay, that could be the case. You could just never have experienced it.
He was famous at 14.
Right.
His entire life has been that.
Right, but I mean, like, just because you don't ever experience, because I don't experience assault doesn't mean that it doesn't happen elsewhere, like.
So the difference between that, 2 Chainz was arrested in Easton for possession of marijuana. The same night, someone else was arrested for possession of marijuana. And basically, they took him to jail, to the lockup, and then took pictures with him, and he never made it inside a cell, never really got booked, and got released the next morning. And then he wrote a song about what it's like to be black, but not be black, because he saw another black guy who gave him again, go back to the Chappelle show, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, we're mutually in this together. But then he was like, nah, we weren't in it together, because I was taking pictures with the cops to stay out of jail, and he was definitely going to jail. There was no doubt. And Clarence Thomas doesn't see that. Clarence Thomas doesn't realize that if he pulled through rural Alabama in a car late at night with I believe he's married to a white woman, I think. Is that true?
I don't remember.
That may not be true. But I think that may be true. If he's rolling through rural Alabama at night and he gets pulled over by some sheriff, he is not Clarence Thomas. Even if he shows his ID, they're not going to know who Clarence Thomas is. They're going to see an old black man who probably is quoting law to them that they could care less about. So, it's going to be a problem. But, last thing for this section of lightning round, clearly.
Clearly lightning round.
Today marks the last day of hurricane season. I guess yesterday was the last day of hurricane season. There is still a hurricane moving towards Central America. Hurricane ETA, ETA, which is hard to pronounce because I never took Latin, because, that's right, we've worked through all of the names and
all the Greek alphabet.
And now we're working into the Latin alphabet. But Corey, just remember, global warming, not caused by humans, not a real thing. Don't worry about it.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So I had an infographic, but the pictures are all screwed up. But in the end, we've had more named storms this year than ever before. We've had more landfall storms than ever before. New Orleans has been hit by 6 hurricanes in a single year, which is unbelievable. It's the strongest Atlantic hurricane season ever. And basically they're saying, like, this is the new normal. This is how it's going to continue to be. It's only going to get worse. Like, there's something called the Keeling curve, which is about CO2 in the atmosphere and water temperature. And in 2019, we crossed a borderline. And basically they were like, we are beyond the place where efforts of individuals will bring down Earth temperature. We have to take drastic action by every country in the world to actually have an impact that will, over the long term, bring the temperature back down.
Yeah.
And so that means once we cross that, the next hurricane season, super strong. And they will remain super strong throughout the rest until the next ice age. So we won't have to worry about that.
Good to know.
Unless it's nuclear winter. Let me pull up that 4-year consideration drop.
Well, unfortunately, Roberto went to Mexico, so
always with the excuses. You should run for president of the United States.
I was going to do it last week, but Roberto was in Mexico.
Corey Baker for president, 2020. So 4-year consideration, a short entertainment segment. Lost in the election news, I think, this week, today. Johnny Depp's libel case was
probably for the best. Probably for
Yeah,
Johnny Depp.
probably for Johnny Depp is the best. But his libel case against Amber Heard, and I guess she was named but not really named.
It was the Star that did it. I can't remember what the
Maybe.
paper was. Yeah, but
Nonetheless, it was dismissed or found to be not enough evidence to because it's not guilt or innocence either. It's
a civil suit, right?
Yeah, it's like liability or non-liability. So how I explained it to Corey was that they found there wasn't enough evidence for liability, but these kind of cases are the kind in which they can then award attorney's fees to the defendant to say, hey, you brought a case that you should have known you couldn't win, so you're going to now pay for the defendant's attorney's fees too.
Yeah.
They did not do that, which is a sign often that, like, you had a very strong case. There's a very high burden. Libel is a really hard case to prove.
Yeah.
So they're like, you didn't meet the burden, but you satisfied me, just not the law, that this is probably true. So I'm not going to award them attorney's fees either. Just everybody walk their separate ways.
Yeah.
And the outcome of that is Johnny Depp is questionably hireable now, maybe?
Yeah. I mean,
Amber Heard, questionably hireable now?
Well, I mean, Amber Heard should be hired a lot more because she hasn't been hired during this entire process. I think mostly because people were thinking that. So here's the thing. Like Rob said, libel is a really hard bar to clear as far as like winning a case in that regard. So when Johnny Depp said he was going to fight this and he was going to take the legal action to fight this, I feel like a lot of people were just like, well, he wouldn't go through with this thing unless he knew for sure he was going to win. Like there's no point in him going through this whole thing unless he thinks that this is complete bullshit.
You don't have a case like this. It's
an
expensive proposition to lose.
Yeah. So clearly he didn't have enough to clear that bar. And I think a lot of people who are, standing by Johnny Depp might look at it a little bit differently now. I think people who were saying shitty things about Amber Heard will look differently upon it now. Like, it's such I guess time will tell whether or not this has significant impacts on Johnny Depp's career. He's pushing 60 now. So, you would think that he would sort of be on the downslope of him being a A-list star, at this point.
Yeah,
but
if you throw on that makeup, he could be a Pirate of the Caribbean again.
I mean, he's still young looking. He's not 60 looking. I mean,
By the way, I have so much hope for the future, but then I think like, oh, he's been rich for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I have not.
I also think that like if you have like the long hair and the like stylish goatee, then people just say like, oh, it can't be. It fools you into thinking like he can't be 60.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, I mean, maybe because R.I.P. Sean Connery.
Yeah.
From this week. And they were showing pictures that he took this year. And I was like, he's 80?
Yeah. 90.
90?
Yeah.
90? Like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. And then they put it side by side with pictures of him from like the 80s. Like Nick Cage, because Nick Cage has to make a statement because he did The Rock with him in 95.
Right.
But they pulled the picture of Sean Connery from 95 in The Rock and him this year. And I'm like, these pictures could have been taken side by side, other than the fidelity of the camera, which was not great in 95. Do you know how crappy movies were in the 90s? Like, watching on VHS in 360p as compared to today.
See, but the problem is not
It's the VHS, yeah.
It's the VHS. It's not the actual thing.
Yeah.
Something that people don't know is that if you're shooting on 35 millimeter film, you can process that up to 8K, I think that is, really. 6K, 8K, something like that. But, like, it's all how you process the film. So, like, when you're processing it to put it on a strip for a VHS, like, that just wasn't high fidelity or high
we
quality.
can make it 8K, but it's not going to make it 8K onto this magnetic strip.
It's just like, I could go shoot 8K, or I could go shoot 4K with the GoPro, right? But if I'm going to export it into 1080, it doesn't really matter if you shot it in 4K.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this whole Johnny Depp thing is it's interesting to see where this goes, because like, I especially am curious on the Amber Heard place, because I feel like people really did sort of like kick her to the curb. Like I said, she only had one credited thing since like Aquaman, which is essentially where she was like filming that
around that time.
So she's had one role since then, and I don't know, just something doesn't smell right, So hopefully that gets corrected, and yeah.
Hopefully, I won't speak out of turn.
Yeah.
Hopefully, sure. And then a story from last week that we didn't get to, but I think we
too much news last week.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, so probably worthwhile to bring it up again.
Well, and Rob during his movie reviews has done a lot of Quibi material.
Yes. So yeah, talking about Quibi, quick bites. Unfortunately, Quibi is no more.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say it's not available. Basically, the end of November will be the last month of membership. You can still pay for the platform, but they have the rights for 3 years before they return to the creators. And my understanding is that they literally just negotiated to get it on Amazon and Roku and everywhere, and that they basically are going to just leave everything up that's there, and you'll be able to watch it, and they're not going to charge you anymore. You'll just, if you have access, you'll get to keep it. So I'll have Quibi for the next 3 years, and maybe even after that, just as it starts to fall off.
Here's the thing that really flabbergasted me about the whole Quibi thing. It never was a good idea. Like it never seemed like it was as well thought out as it should have been. And there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking about what all that went wrong with it, and that's going to happen on something like this. But I remember waking up in the morning and seeing the tweet, seeing the Quibi is now available on Roku and Amazon and everything. Like you can go watch it on your TV now.
That was at 9 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I woke up, I saw that tweet, I went like, oh, maybe I'll download Quibi. I literally just went on a little spree of downloading other services. I had gotten HBO Max, so it's just like I downloaded the free thing of Peacock. I was like, I might as well get the thing on Quibi and just take a look around, because I'm going to watch this on my TV. I'm not going to watch it on my phone. Like, I just never watch anything on my phone. Like, the only time I ever watch a video longer than, a minute on my phone is if somebody sends me an Instagram and it's just like, you have to see this thing. Like,
And it's a Reels?
If I'm out and about.
I dread the Reels. Because as soon as I see it go, like, continue watching, I'm like, I thought I was in for a minute. How long is this going to be?
Well, Roberto sent me something, and I was like watching it for like 2.5 minutes, and I was just like holding my phone. I'm just like, how much longer do I have to go through this torture? And I like hit it, and it was like 14 minutes. I'm like, nope.
And then it gets awkward because you have to wait like another 12 minutes to send him a message, because pretend that you watched the whole thing.
Ha ha ha.
Yo, that's a 14-minute long clip, and you said ha ha at 10 minutes. How'd you watch the whole thing?
I watched the rest of it later on my computer. I pulled it up on the Instagram app so I could watch it on a big screen.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I literally woke up and said, maybe I'll download Quibi. Maybe I'll get the subscription. And then by the afternoon, Quibi is dead. So it's one of the most amazing,
9 a.m. tweet. It's available on Amazon.
Yeah.
12, both Pacific, 12 p.m. tweet. Quibi's bankrupt. We're going out of business.
And it's like, you didn't even give a chance for that thing to work.
Well, no. So apparently that the announcement that was put out about them being on Amazon and Roku was done by the firm that organized the purchase.
Right.
And the Quibi's done was put out by Quibi because they were just like, oh shit, we forgot about that thing being launched today. All right. Well, tell everybody we're done.
I'm just it's so amazing. It seems like Quibi had some ideas that could I think the idea of moving the screen and having either a vertical or a horizontal view of the same action is cool.
Apparently a pain in the ass to shoot.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And I don't think that it's so mind bending that it's going to live on.
Yeah.
But it was cool to think about, I guess, at least.
The one time I actually used it and reversed and then switched angles was in The Fugitive, not The Fugitive. The one that was like The Fugitive. Damn. Where they were hunting the guy. Most Dangerous Game.
Okay.
There was a scene where it was him being interviewed by the police, and they kept doing one shots. And I was like, I wonder, and I flipped it over, and it was a 2-shot of both of the guys, and I'm like, this builds the intensity of the scene because I see both of them instead of cutting back and forth between the two of them.
Yeah.
I can see him reacting to what the guy's saying while he's on camera. I liked it. But you could have just made it a 2-shot the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah. But yeah, apparently, like, they had this whole a quibi rig, which was like shooting both perspectives at the same time.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like a
yeah.
whole thing. So
I can't imagine. I would imagine just like you're watching a landscape the whole time, and you flip it to portrait, and all of a sudden you see the boom mic over there. Like,
But so this all comes down to ownership. And a few years ago, we had our show, a flagship show. We had the show about the show. Dirty Shore was on the network. We were talking to 3 other shows about putting on the network. And I said to Corey, what we need to do is to get our own app. And we can get an app. It'll be super easy. But one of the keys to that is then your show's only available on the app. Because you can't push via RSS feed out and also to your app. You essentially have to figure out how to go through the app to an RSS feed, which is way more than I was willing to pay to develop. And the question is ownership of the thing worth more than what you're putting on the thing? And for us, it wasn't. We stayed just having everybody put in their little, like, part of the digital network, and that's how we're going to keep it. And I think that's where Quibi made a mistake. If they had spent that much money building a Quibi YouTube channel and putting high-quality content up on YouTube, they would have been profitable because people would have bought ads during those shows just like it was TV. And you can keep the 10-minute format, but essentially what they created was a more difficult to get YouTube.
see, but to me, the problem is that there wasn't any talent behind it. I'm not saying that the people who didn't have shows weren't talented, but it seemed to be a lot of like bottom of the drawer ideas that were getting pitched to Quibi, as
which
opposed
apparently
to
was what it was.
Yeah,
there
and
were
I mean,
places that like they struck out everywhere in LA, and then they were like, "What, Quibi?" And everybody was taking things that had gotten rejected everywhere and pitching them there and getting money up front for this.
I mean, like, you got to think like when Netflix Original started, right? There was one show the first show that wasn't very popular. I can't remember what it was. The first one that they did was not like a huge hit, but the second one was House of Cards.
Yep.
And they were just like, it almost felt like when the first one wasn't as popular as they hoped it would be, they were just like, all right, fucking literally get me the best showrunner you can get me the best stars you can get. We're making a serious show.
Yeah.
We're going to win an award, like fucking put it up there. Because to Netflix, they had to make the investment and like all the best they could possibly do to make it clear that this was not less than a television experience. Yep. Like this, watching a movie or a TV show on Netflix is much the same as like watching it on HBO. That's what they want you to think.
No commercials.
Quibi,
like HBO, yeah, no commercials.
Quibi never stepped beyond, like never broke into the landscape with like, like, oh, everyone's got to see this show. And it's not even like you could send me a clip. Like
that was their problem.
I mean, to me, it seems like the easiest way to do this is to sort of like paywall it, right? So like make it shareable, and then make it so that if I see a show I really like and I know that you're going to like it, I send it to you and you could watch like 3 episodes of it.
Yep.
On like through the web browser, essentially, like you click the link and it just starts playing.
Yeah.
And then you would, if it was really good, you'd go, where do I get this?
And it's like, what, $4.99 a month? Sure.
Yeah.
I'll pay
like,
$4.99.
Oh, I'll watch this show. Yeah. Like, that would be so much easier than, because how does YouTube or Twitch or TikTok or any of these other ones get famous? Like, it's not like YouTube is paying a lot of money for high-end creators. No. I mean, they're paying money to creators, but I'm not, they don't have, they didn't give a lot of money to Brad Pitt so he'd start a YouTube channel, like
no,
they went with the people who are already making content on their platform. TikTok doesn't need to worry about paying high-powered people because the people who make content by themselves is what is the show for this whole thing.
Oh yeah, and they drew people in, and now the high-powered content makers are like, I got to get on TikTok.
Yeah,
they draw you in, but and I think that to avoid being compared to YouTube, because it was kind of just a high-end YouTube, they refused to even post clips from the show on YouTube, where I could then go find it on YouTube, send it to you, and show you, like, this is a scene from the show. It was literally like, let me describe this scene to you, and then you have to pay to see any of it, which is not a great business model.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, you can text me a TikTok. You can see a TikTok, say, Corey needs to see this, and then text it to me.
Yep.
And then it'll just open, and I'll see it. And that's an easy way to get people engaged in your product. If you can't share it, and all you're able to do is just say, like, oh, by the way, you hear about this app called Quibi?
By the way, if I text you to TikTok,
because if I said to somebody who wasn't living in L.A., like, you know, like, oh, you got to see the show on Quibi, they're gonna be like, what's Quibi? That's the problem. That's part of the problem. Like,
the other thing too is I don't know outside of LA how many people even know about this. Just for me, it was like, oh, I saw the thing and I. But for TikTok, if I send you a link on your phone, text it to you, it opens in a web browser, and if you interact with it at all, you try to like it, you try to comment directly to the sign up screen.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, well, yeah, I was motivated enough to leave a comment. Let me just quickly sign up, and then now they got you, and you're in. But here's the thing I stand by. I think that they were negatively impacted by coronavirus because, again, thinking back to me living in Baltimore, D.C., New York, it is the perfect thing for workday. For watch one episode on my commute. At lunch, you catch 2 or 3 episodes. The commute home, I got a last episode. And I don't have to, like Netflix, remember where I was or like come back to it.
Yeah.
It wraps up. And then, on my morning commute the next day, it gives me 40 seconds of review of like what happened in the last 2 episodes, and then I'm into the new one. And I'm like, it's a shortened TV show. But in my 10-minute light rail ride from Camden Yards to University of Baltimore, it would have been perfect for that. And then lunch or time between classes.
But I mean, like, you know, the same thing. That's how I feel about YouTube. Like, I have YouTube channels that I watch when I have a lot of time. Like, somebody who's going on for 45 minutes about Home Assistant, I'll just like, yeah, sure, I'll watch that now because I'm trying to fall asleep.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I want to watch 10 minutes of something. I'm eating lunch. I got to get back to it. I only have 10 minutes while I'm sitting here to eat. I don't want to watch a TV episode because that could be 22 minutes or 44 minutes, and I don't want to get caught up in it. So let me watch this 10-minute video on YouTube. That's like how I think about my life. So if I'm thinking about like 10 minutes here or there, you have to convince me that your Quibi content is more impactful for my 10 minutes than the YouTube content that I could be watching instead.
And that's where the not sharing thing came in. Because there was a lot of shows I think you would have liked, but without me being able to show you the 40 seconds that you would have really loved, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And there's a paywall that keeps you from watching any of it. So I think conceptually it'll come back, but I have a feeling that Quibi is going to turn into the Quibi YouTube channel, and then it's going to be subscribe, and they'll paywall the YouTube channel.
I just don't imagine that anyone launches a Quibi again. Like, I think
this is Movie Pass. They killed the idea. It'll never come back again.
No, but I'm saying like I think that there's a short video like repository where like it's designed for mobile and you watch it. Mm-hmm. But I imagine it's going to be like YouTube or like TikTok where it's like we started with the app, it got popular, now people really love it, and now it creates its own content. Yeah. Like you have to get to like sort of the critical mass by having people like it so much as opposed to trying to force people to like it from the beginning. Yeah. And I mean, like, that's, you know, a lot of these streaming things are having trouble, like, figuring out, like, what their lane is. Like, HBO Max is, they have some Max originals, and then you have all the access to the HBO content and, like, all the other, you know, studio stuff that you get there. But, like, if you have HBO on your television service, is it worth it to go to HBO Max? Probably not. Like, 'cause it's expensive. Is Disney Plus like must have streaming service?
Not if you don't have kids.
If you have kids, yes, absolutely. But you know, like if you're me or Rob, like,
well, no, I mean you have a kid at home, so it's fine.
But I mean, like you might watch The Mandalorian. Yep. Is there any other YouTube or Disney Plus content that's like making you like I have to go get Disney Plus? Like,
no, but that's also part of the times because if we were on schedule with Marvel movies. Eventually, I'm going to have it just so I can be like, all right, let's watch Ant-Man and then Ant-Man and the Wasp so I know what's happening in Ant-Man 3. Like, right. I can be up to date on that.
And that makes sense. I guess it's just I like Peacock's model right now. Yeah. I think that's a really good one. There's free. You can get it. You can watch all the Peacock original stuff. So you can watch the stuff that they keep on their show or on their site that's like the exclusive content. And then you can pay more for the premium, and I don't think it's like a king's ransom. I think it's like $4 or $5 a month or something like that.
It is.
And for $4 or $5 a month, you could watch like any episode of Law and Order SVU you want. In the meantime, for the pre one, you can only watch select ones that they let you watch. Mm-hmm. But you know, you pay the $4 a month, you can watch literally anything that was on NBC. Like,
and Brave New World was only on Peacock. Mm-hmm. You could watch the first 3 episodes for free, and then everything after that was paid. The problem was, they had a timeout bug on their pay page that would not allow you to pay. Well, would not allow me to pay.
Yeah.
And I literally forgot about that until just now, that I have not watched the rest of the season of Brave New World because I kept getting, when I hit submit, it would just time out. And I'm like, okay, I'll come back to that and do that. Absolutely did not. So good job. The last bit I just want to mention because I know Roberto's watching us tonight. So thank you for checking out Roberto. But we've figured out your secret. And I want to say RIP to the one, maybe two gold toilets that his dad had to sell in order to start the movie studio in Sonora. But apparently, Sonora is going to be
in Mexico.
Mexico, is going to be the next big place for making movies. And in some irony that I cannot even comprehend at this moment, Corey got the fact that is actually Hollywood, and I missed that.
Yeah. Because it's spelled Jolly.
Jallly.
Or J-A, I'm sorry.
Yes. So, but of course in Spanish, that is Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's Hollywood, but it's in Jalisco. So what we have determined is that Roberto left. 4 days later, this huge studio opened in Jalisco for Hollywood. And what we imagine is that Roberto went home and said, no, I got to go back to the U.S. because, Hollywood is where I need to work. And his dad said, sell off a couple of the gold toilets. We have
a new Hollywood.
Yes. And so now Roberto is about to be the new hottest thing coming out of Hollywood. Not Hollywood Land, but Hollywood, Jalisco. So we're never going to see him again. That's the determination.
Sad trombone.
But honestly, I'm hanging out with more Hispanic people since I've come to LA, just because there are more Hispanic people in LA than there are in, rural Maryland.
Or Maryland in general.
Or Maryland in general. Yeah. I have been introduced to so much talent from Mexico and Central America, and not so much South America, but Central America and Mexico. And I see where they're going with this now. It's like, why are we sending people here? There's an investment. Also, yeah, it was a joke. It's not Roberto's dad. It's the timing is not there. Hopefully,
Rob was just taking this time to throw Roberto under the bus.
He's not here for me to rib him, so I have to rib him however I can. But yeah, so there's a lot of talent there. And somebody said, why are we going to let someone else profit from this? Let's keep the money here. All it's going to take is a studio. And I think they may not have looked at this example, but it's the Tyler Perry example. It's like, why am I selling films to someone else? I can make them here, why am I having someone else pay for my movies? I can make them here and then sell them or distribute them, and I'll start a whole studio complex where I am. And that's what they're doing in Jalisco.
Yeah.
Exactly what they did in Atlanta.
Let me see who's in charge of this whole thing. Oh, Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Roberto, I suggest you not sign that contract. Or actually, that's not. I mean, the one thing I think I can say about Quibi is
they paid people.
A lot of writers got paid from Quibi.
Yeah.
And a lot of new content was put out, and that's great. But
also, I think a lot of people got kind of screwed on it too, because even though there was more jobs, there was also less. Depending on what type of project you work on, depends on how much money you get paid.
Well, that's true.
So if you're a writer and you're with WGA, you get a certain amount scale for a screenplay, and then that's less money for a television episode, and then it's less money for short form content. And if it's new media, which is what Quibi was considered.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't considered new media?
They specifically made a separate agreement with the WGA. And because it's essentially one long-form thing, just cut into chunks, it wasn't classified as new media. It was classified as...
I heard differently, but...
So my understanding, at least, maybe I'm wrong, was because that's what they had to do to contractually also give the rights back after a certain period of time.
Gotcha.
Because otherwise, the new media thing is about... You're producing something for me, essentially, and it's almost work for hire. That's how they get such a low rate.
Yeah.
But part of the rights return aspect of it was, maybe it's reversed. Now that I'm saying it out loud,
maybe I'll have to look
reversed.
into it. Yeah.
Because I think maybe the new media is how you get the rights back. Because it's like, oh, we don't know if this is going to be around, so you can return the rights to people after a certain amount of time. Yeah. Maybe that was it.
But I mean, like that. Returning the rights is basically used in lieu of money.
Yes.
Because if I write something for Universal, then they own it forever. Like I literally, when I finish the screenplay, it says by Corey Baker on it. Then I'm selling it to them, and they are now the
wipe
author.
your name off.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the author of the screenplay, of which they are the owner of. But like, you know, like for legal purposes, you think of Universal as the author of this piece.
Yes.
Like,
and you may get a second or third try at it, but they could eventually just say, all right, so Corey Baker is the story by.
Yeah.
And we're going to have somebody do a page 1 rewrite on this.
I would still get a screenplay. But
would you get a screenplay?
Yeah.
No, not if the finished thing was less than 25% of your original screenplay.
I think if you're the original writer who brings it in, like if I created a work all on my own and I wrote it and then I brought it in, this is a lot of legal jargon nobody cares about.
We really should get into the WGA so we can figure out what these
get
rules
to the
are.
bottom of all this shit.
But nonetheless, what I'll say is though the reason writers got paid though was because they were the ones selling the idea.
Yeah.
Although we were starting to get into the point where producers were like optioning ideas and selling them to Quibi. So it was getting into the exploitive aspect right before it shut down. And the only people who really got screwed were the Wall Street investors who invested in money in Katzenberg's company.
Yeah.
So, what we did is we reallocated money from Wall Street investors in Silicon Valley into the pockets of writers and actors and some producers, not very many. So I'm not so sad about that.
All right. Final topic.
Yes.
But it requires us to take a little trip on down to the Baltimore Corner.
Oh, my God. Roberto, we need you back. Where you get the straight dope? Oh, Roberto. He disconnected it from the video from the...
Oh,
Good job. All right. So the Baltimore Corner, which we don't have a splash for, just like for your consideration. But so for the first time in a few weeks, I think we're going back to Baltimore. And for a story we've been covering for 3 years now, maybe?
Yeah,
nearly
something
the
like
entire
that.
time
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Yeah.
Because it was out, it was controversial, and they shut it down. And there was like a year. And then they brought it back secretly, and then people found out, so they shut it down. And then they brought it back legally, and it's been running for this year.
No, they only brought it back once, and it was legally.
Okay.
Yeah, the first time nobody knew about it. And
That's what it was, yeah. And
and
they're like, we've actually been doing this the whole time.
somebody let the Intercept in to like write a story about it, going like, this is going to be cool, right? We'll write a story about this cool new thing.
Huge invasion of privacy.
But yes, so the Baltimore Spy Plane is now grounded. It has reached the end of its trial run. And now it's up to the mayor to decide whether or not it stays.
Well, listen, I mean, Brandon Scott is a really progressive guy, so I'm...
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take a moment here to detail a profile in courage.
Oh, okay.
Brandon Scott, who, despite becoming will become mayor tomorrow, like will be elected mayor tomorrow.
Yes.
By
the way.
the way, all the people who are just like, oh, don't call Joe Biden. Don't say it's so much. Don't say it's such a big lead because he might not win. I get it. There's a chance. There's a chance Trump wins. There's a chance something weird happens. There's a chance blah, 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 blah. Brandon Scott will be elected mayor of Baltimore tomorrow. There's no doubt.
If Brandon Scott is not elected mayor of Baltimore, we have really big problems going on.
Either that or the people in Baltimore are just like, fuck it.
Who's the other guy? I'm voting for him. I heard his name just now for the first time.
Just the words like spreading around the streets. Just like, you know how Trump blew up everything and it changed everything? We should do the same thing with the Baltimore city government. Just get a new mayor in there. Brandon Scott's on his victory tour. Like the Republican whose name I don't even know.
I am looking him up because I do not know who he is. Oh, wow. Apparently a bunch of Republican mayors, though, are on the chopping block right now. But keep
yeah.
for me.
Anyway, the spy plane is grounded, and it's up to the mayor. And Brandon Scott made us know that because he said, well, I'm not the mayor, and this is Jack Young's decision. And, the city council has sort of an advisory role in this whole thing, so I'm not going to overstep my bounds, and I'm just going to let Jack Young do this.
Profiles in courage.
Meanwhile, if Brandon Scott had just said, over my dead body, that it wouldn't have been, Jack Young wouldn't have done it. He's a lame duck. He really has no, like, Jack Young wasn't elected. Jack Young assumed it from Catherine Pugh, who was thrown out of office.
Ran for it.
Lost
to Brandon Scott.
And Brandon Scott is now the presumptive mayor, assuming tomorrow people vote.
So the Baltimore Republican candidate is Shannon Wright.
Okay.
Who garnered 1,630 votes, which is 29% of the votes cast. Second was Catalina Bird at 1,068 votes for 19%. Now, compared to Brandon Scott, the Democrat, who also received 29% of the vote, with 43,927 votes. Second place was Sheila Dixon, who did better. Let me find a comparable. 19. Mary Miller is just shy of what the second place Republican got, 19% to 15.6%. And Mary Miller got 23,193.
Yeah.
You have to go down to Mary Washington with 0.7% of the Democratic vote, 1,028 votes, which is just shy of the second place Republican contender. So if Shannon Wright is running the table on the Baltimore mayoral election tomorrow, there's big problems afoot. The red tide's coming.
I'm gonna say that there's some voter interference.
Or it could just be the silent majority, Corey. You don't know, all right?
Nobody say that you're voting for Shannon if they call you on the phone. It won't be looked positively upon.
Oh, by the way, the independents are also backing Brandon Scott. He's a candidate for the independents too.
Good to know. Good to know there's a lot of independence in this whole thing.
Yeah. But Brandon Scott ran as a Green first, right? Wasn't he a Green candidate a few years ago?
Originally, I think. No, you know what?
It wasn't 2016. It was before that, I think, too.
I think he tried to get involved in the Democratic primary. Yeah. And, he wasn't doing well. And then so once it went to the general, he did the Greens.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that being the case.
And he did relatively well for a third party. I mean, better than the Republicans, but not anything compared to Sheila Dixon.
Yeah. I don't know. I just can't even believe that Baltimore would consider this. Because, if there was any kind of effect that this plane actually had, then they wouldn't stop talking about it. They would be well, we saw 15 murders from this thing. So crime hasn't gotten better. It's not like people are less likely to commit crime because it's up there. It only runs during the day where most of our crime does not happen.
Yeah.
And why are you giving the Baltimore Police Department toys? Just today, they agreed to pay $250,000 or $500,000 to the victim of a gun trace task force trial. So this department only costs you money. The money in the how much it costs to run a police department, plus all the toys that they get, plus all the money that you got to pay out in lawsuits based off their actions. I mean, maybe if the Baltimore Police Department want this plane so fucking badly, they can find the requisite cuts in their department to be able to afford it.
They're only spending $500 million as it is.
How about this? I'm going to give you a budget of $250 million, which is half of what you currently have.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out how to make it work.
Yep.
See what's important. And then I bet you the spy plane doesn't make it to the top of the list.
No.
I bet you if you just said to them, hey, we're just going to give you $500,000 in which to operate your department. Same amount as you had last time. Let's do whatever you want with it. We're not going to interfere. Spy plane wouldn't be on the top of the list. They'd spend it on the people.
Raises for the brass.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that. So this whole thing is stupid. The fact that rich moneyed Republicans from out of state are the ones who are trying to get this thing going should not be the sign that this is the future of law enforcement, but rather a grab by somebody who is going to unleash some sort of evil upon us in the future.
Or just a money grab on something that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Hey, spend some money on something. It's not really helping. By the way, I just wanted to check real quick. Nowhere is there an image of Shannon Wright that is not local Baltimore news. Wikipedia doesn't have it. 538 didn't have it. Wikipedia doesn't have it. Nowhere has it.
Twitter. Just an egg.
Right for Maryland has it.
Yeah.
Baltimore Sun has a different picture than Right for Maryland, and it looks like every other Baltimore news agency
just
took the picture
Sun.
from the Baltimore Sun. So Yeah, it's if she wins, it's gonna be a problem. But yeah, so also everybody who was like talking about like, oh, they permanently grounded the spy plane. This was a planned period of it being grounded for then the consideration of the city. So
yeah, because there was going to be the let's see how this works. We're not paying for any of this, so let's see how it works, and it'll end at this time, and then we'll figure it all out.
Analyze effectiveness, and then we'll figure out the contract. So
it's not. Let me put it this way: your civil rights are not worth the effectiveness of a spy plane. End of story. Like that's the.
And
it's the old Ben Franklin quote: the little bit of security and the little bit of
people would give up any liberty for a little security. Don't deserve any of either.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
But also to anyone who thought it was going to be anything other than meet the new boss, same as the old boss, Brandon Scott, Profile in Courage.
Yeah, well, thanks for being the change that we needed so desperately in Baltimore, Brandon Scott. I'm glad you're part of the conversation.
Now, I have hope that this is one of those, I don't want to spend capital before I'm even mayor, political capital, before I'm even mayor, fighting the police on the spy plane. Because I'm going to come in hard and fast on them, but I don't think that's what it's going to be.
You know what would make somebody my favorite mayor in a long time? Somebody who would pick fights with the police for no good reason. I would love that. I would love it for no other reason than the police are a fucking easy target in Baltimore. Like, it's not, you could make an argument that like your local police department in Duluth is not an awful police department and it's filled with good, kind citizens who rescue people from trees and stuff like that. Like, yeah, sure. I get it. Not all cops are bad. Yeah, I get it. I see your argument. Baltimore City is long known for being one of the worst and most corrupt police departments I've ever seen ever. Like, it rivals the Tauntaun Macoute in terms of the sick, perverted level of justice that is assumed by it.
It's deep pull that's going to make everybody Google.
Go ahead, try and spell it.
Try and spell that one. And also, by the way, as the mayor now, the current mayor and the incoming mayor, who came from the council, which means the council is essentially just going to rubber stamp anything you ask for.
Yeah.
You're the teacher from Breakfast Club. You talk shit to the cops. They talk shit back to you, and you're like, all right, great. We're going to take $1 million from your budget. You're going to keep playing? Make it $2 million.
Mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Mess with the bull, you get the horns, son. Huh? More? $3 million. I can do this all day. $4 million. Like, what are they going to do? Like, oh, we're going to go complain to the union. No, your budget's set yearly, and the mayor sets the budget approved by the council.
It's amazing. Like, Garcetti could have done this at some point. He tried to and fucked it up. But I mean, like, if Garcetti had just held a press conference and said, "Hey, we're cutting the LAPD police budget in half because fuck this shit," then you know how much money he would have raised in a day. All the people who were just like, "Oh, Garcetti gets us. He finally understands. He's not being a little fucking speed bump on the way to what eventually is going to happen anyway." Like,
and when he negotiates it down to a 30% down, and we're actually going to use the number that we were projecting to give you this year, not the current budget anyway. No, everyone would have forgotten. And the money would be in his war chest to run for whatever he's going to run for.
President.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, I don't understand when you're in that position. Again, you're the mayor of LA. You essentially have control over the budget of the city of LA. Yeah. Yes, there's a council, and they will, or board of supervisors. What do they call that? Is it board of supervisors?
Well, and a city council.
And the city council. Yeah. But the city council is going to rubber stamp the city's portion of it. The county is going to throw in some money, but they look to the mayor for guidance. Yeah. And if you start to take on the cops, there's going to be a lot of people who wouldn't have spoken up who would be like, yeah, no, fuck cops. That's going to play real well in my East LA district where everyone is actually on the street yelling, fuck the police. I get to go on and say fuck the police too. Thank you, Mayor Garcetti. You have my undying support. Like, I don't understand. It's you want to be caught. I want to be caught, with a hot take or on the wrong side of history. I think you're going to be okay. Yeah. I think on this one, you're going to be fine.
Somehow I imagine you'll be able to get through it. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of ways that we can all get through this, because it's going to be a long, cold winter if things don't go well today. Yeah. You know where you can go?
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Core to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What is that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendsDB5 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I am working on a lot of different things for the YouTube channel. So go check that out. There's the Trial of the Chicago 7, which has been posted. Mm-hmm. There's the review for Borat, which is forthcoming. There is a special thing for people who film in LA that I'm working on this week. And I'm going to be filming 2 other episodes of a project I hope to be unveiling next week. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh, very prolific.
Yeah, no.
Prolific period. All right.
Well, I'm home by myself all day.
Yeah, you got nothing else to do.
What do I do?
All right, so you can find me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertandcheek.com for links to everything I'm doing, including the YouTube channel, youtube.com/RobCheek, where you can find the Everyman movie review, 2 episodes a week. We just did, Dr. Sleep last week, Hubie Halloween, Slender Man on Sunday. This Thursday is Trial of Chicago 7, followed by Borat. And then I'm throwing in something I think you'd appreciate, Corey, and probably nobody else will appreciate. I'm thinking of Ending Things, the new Charlie Kaufman movie, and then a couple of palate cleansers, because after a Charlie Kaufman movie, you need a couple of palate cleansers. But new episodes every twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays, so make sure you check that out. I'm also on the channel going to have an unboxing video for Armor Mouth. I got a new toothbrush, which is this whole kit of a toothbrush. So we're going to see. I'm replacing my handy-dandy Oral-B, and this entire kit cost me less than my startup kit for the Oral-B. And the brush heads are cheaper. So we're going to see how that works. And it comes with a water pick or a water flosser, which is like a water pick, but it's handheld, not a lot of room. There's a lot of exciting stuff. Check out the video. And we'll update every couple of days about it. Of course, Everyman, already talked about that. I got a lot of stuff going on. Rob Explains every single day. You can find that at anchor.fm/Rob Explains, or wherever you get podcasts. And we do our review where we go back over the previous week's episodes every single Monday. So you can check that out. Also, writing NaNoWriMo right now, so posting updates. If you'd like to follow along, I do have a working sheet that you can kind of follow along with me, and I'm also taking screenshots of the app that I'm helping to track along. And you should encourage Corey to write NaNoWriMo with me. 50,000 words in 30 days. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I plan on writing a lot this month, so.
That's not what I said. I said you should do NaNoWriMo. That's I would do it. But if anybody has ever wanted to write, I mean, I posted this on social media a little bit. If anybody's ever wanted to write a novel, this is the month that can motivate you to do it. And I am 100% here to be your coach and your cheerleader and your drill instructor and editor and whatever people need for the next 30 days and even after to help you get your first novel out of the way. So I got a couple of people who reached out to me who I've also already had to send it's day 2. Why haven't you started? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, 50,000 words is more than you think it is. 1,600 words a day is a lot of words a day. So don't get too far behind. So check those out on social media at Robert and Cheek. That's it.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you are listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Hi, Roberto. Have a great week, everybody.
And please, please, please vote. Please vote. If you haven't already, go to your polling place and vote. But only do it if you're going to do the right thing.
Vote. If you're going to vote for my guy. If not, fuck you.
We all know what's right and wrong here.